Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome into the Friday brunch. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. We're here to talk a little bit about Kirk Cousins. Do we really need to be concerned? He's been on a nice little media blitz lately, and it doesn't quite sound like he's the same happy camper that signed that $180 million contract. Let's come back and talk about it. What's going on, everyone? How are you today? Welcome into Uncle Steve's Lounge on a Friday, the Friday brunch edition. Probably a little close to Friday early dinner, but that's all right. We still here. I am your host, Uncle Steve. I am thrilled to have you here today. And I wanted to talk, as always, we talk about Falcons, and we can continue to talk about schedule. We can continue to talk about some of the trips that folks plan on making and all of that stuff. We got plenty of time for all of that. I appreciate you joining me. If you will, as you're coming into the chat, I would appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to Uncle Steve's Lounge, please do. We would like that a lot. And also, if you're a regular member coming in, one, welcome back. And two, make sure you hit that like button for us. We appreciate you getting the videos out there into the algorithm so folks can check out what we're doing on the channel. Well, I wanted to kind of start at the Kirk Cousins stuff, and I'm going to bring up a couple of clips. And I usually don't do this as much, but I just wanted to illustrate where I was going. And we're a couple of weeks past the draft, and things have calmed down. A couple of little OTAs have started. And I think a lot of people were concerned about what Kirk Cousins' first pressers would be like after the draft because he went radio silent. And I kind of don't blame him. When you were brought in here on a very lucrative contract, and the team who was in desperate need of a change, and not only probably leadership and ability, I think Kirk Cousins said, you know what? The Falcons really need me. So he came in riding on his white horse, took that big check down to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or wherever he banks. And he was groomed to be the man. City embracing him. He went to the Hawks games, went to the Braves games throughout the first pitch. This whole ceremonial thing that Kirk Cousins is the new face of Atlanta, especially in lieu of things with Trae Young going on. Not sure whether he's going to be here and things of that nature. So Kirk came armed. He's ready. He's ready to take the mantle. He's ready to be the next, dare I say, Matt Ryan, if only for a short time. Saying all the right things, sans the tampering deal. But played the role of the next guy. Well, I, as many others, were waiting to hear exactly what was on Kirk Cousins' mind. And I don't know about y'all. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not a psychologist. I don't claim to read body language and tell you exactly what they're thinking, but I don't know. Kirk seems a little ticked off to me. And it could be me. Yeah, he's saying all the right things. I don't want it to be misconstrued. This is not a matter of taking his words out of context, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to play these videos. But it doesn't take a genius to figure out that might have been a little bit of feelings here. Let me start first. In the first video is going to be the one that really came out first, and that was the bussing with the boys podcast. Make sure I give them full credit on this. And let's go to this one first. And I want you to listen to as the guy sets it up. And we're not going to play the whole thing, but we'll play enough for you to get an idea of where I'm coming from. This is Bussing with the Boys. Kirk Cousins, this was the very first time we heard his words, even before he did his Atlanta presser on the field.
Legos are the best.
Shout out Legos, sponsor.
They should sponsor.
We got a lot of brands here: fast food brands, car brands, Lego brands.
Yeah.
You gotta pick one right now: Patek or Rolex.
Wow, depends on the model. So like a rare Rolex that's like unattainable, got to know somebody to get. If someone's willing to let me get one, I'm probably going Rolex. Iconic.
It is.
But we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah, both great brands.
And you did say Patek's where you finished, so maybe that was the wrong
I
answer.
was repeating a cool quote that I heard less than a week ago.
Let's dive into the articles that have been going around about draft night.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix gets drafted. They call you when the pick is happening.
Right.
You know, there's a Minnesota article that came out. A reason that Kirk left was they talked about them drafting a successor high. So that was one of the reasons he comes to Atlanta. Talk about draft night, Kirk Cousins, the Atlanta Falcons picking Michael Penix.
Yeah, I think you're reminded again that there are things you control, and there's a lot of things you don't control. And so let's deal in reality, and recognize that fact, and then be a steward, not an owner. So I just believe that I got to steward what comes my way and control what I can control, which is what a steward does. But a steward doesn't worry about that which they can't control.
Yeah.
An owner does. An owner would be like, oh my goodness. So I just got to steward this and just do kind of what I've always done as a player and let the chips fall where they may.
Okay, now after that interview, and that was the very first one, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I saw this one, I was kind of like, okay, and there's more after that. But I was saying, okay, he's saying all the words. Be a good steward of what the situation is. I understand where he's coming from. I mean, it's not a lot he can do about it now. It's not like he's going to turn around and say, hi, honey, before you make that trip down to Phillips Plaza or North Point Mall, hold tight for a second. We might be giving this money back. I don't think that was going to be one of the scenarios he was going to have. So I heard that, and I was kind of cool. Like, all right, I can deal with that. Then the next one I'm going to share with you was the one on Atlanta Falcons. And I'm trying to pull this one up, and I'm sorry. I tell you what, while we're doing all that, I'm going to go to the one about on Dan Patrick. This is the one that kind of raised my antenna a little bit. So I'm going to go to Dan Patrick interview, and Dan Patrick just asked him straight out, hypothetically.
But if you had known, if I gave you a do-over, Minnesota is going to take J.J. McCarthy, and Atlanta is going to take Michael Penix.
Yeah, no, I just don't think it's helpful to deal in hypotheticals. I mean, you can do that with any scenario at any point in your career, if this, then what, and you can go down a lot of trails, but I'm excited to be here in Atlanta, to be the quarterback of the Falcons. I think we've got a great opportunity to win a lot of games here and have a lot to look forward to up ahead.
So
when you hear that, again, it still sounds like, okay, I'm not going to deal in hypotheticals. I get where you're going. You're not going to stir the pot. You're not going to put something out into the atmosphere that the media can grab and everyone can kind of take and like, ooh, Kurt already said he's ticked off. Here's the next part that kind of really got my attention.
Watching the draft. And then you get a heads up, what, 30 seconds before the pick?
Yeah, maybe a minute and a half. You know, it wasn't much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you at home with the wife and kids?
I was at a draft function at the stadium, and I was driving back up to my house. Yeah. Yeah.
So then you call your wife and you say
Right.
what?
Basically what the team told me, that, hey, they're going to be drafting a quarterback. And, you know, I think, again, I'm kind of rehashing with you. I remind my wife, hey, this is a big part of my story, going back to when I committed to Michigan State, going back to when I was drafted to Washington. And it's always had a way of working itself out. And so let's draw on past experience to trust that the future, you know, can be the same.
We're talking to.
Okay, so and that was from Dan Patrick's show the other day. So here's my thing. In no way am I trying to make Kirk Cousins out to be a bad guy. I think he's saying all the right things. He's here. It's not like he's. I'm pretty sure that little bit of deafening silence after the draft was a little bit concerning. It was to me. Nobody was talking about it. Could Kirk have been letting Michael Penix get all of his press out before he said anything? You could argue that. But it was just kind of interesting to me. I thought Kirk, if you know, the hypotheticals, I get it. You don't want to go down that road. But it also would have been something to say, well, listen, this is the NFL. No one to say. Believe it or not, even Patrick Mahomes in the next year or two may not be safe if he starts taking a downward slide. You never know. But I just found it very interesting to kind of look at Kirk maneuver that. I don't know. There's media training 101. Did he look nervous? Did he look like he was flustered a little bit? Not really. But he sure didn't look like anybody, especially that last part when he said he was driving home. Now, we have eyewitnesses to the fact that he might not have been on the road that quick. There was a lot of folks that said he was just getting off stage right around the time that they made the pick. So whether you want to believe that or not, I don't know. You want to believe Kirk when he's talking about tampering, I don't know. But either way, it did blindside him. And we're all human. Even if you were signed to the most lucrative contract on the team, and you see somebody go out and say, you know what, we did this, but we're also going to look out for our future. Man, you can't help but to say, well, dude, what's going on here? Now, he's probably not foolish either. Who else was going to pay him money this offseason? Pittsburgh wasn't going to pay him $180 million. The Raiders weren't going to pay him $180 million. I'm trying to think who else needed it. Obviously, Minnesota wasn't. So you look at the teams that actually play. I don't think, well, Denver couldn't pay because they're still bleeding from Russell Wilson. So it's not like he had a whole lot of options here. It's not like he can come out and say, man, shoot, Falcons, if I had known that, I would have signed with New Orleans. No. I would have signed with Cleveland. No. I would have signed with. So in other words, go down the list. It's not like you had many choices. And it was clearly obvious near the end that it was Atlanta and Minnesota. So I don't know. I want to hear what y'all have to say about that. And I know a lot of you probably been watching a lot of the videos lately. So I just want to get your idea on that. And then it's still, if we want to talk about the schedule, I have no problem bringing that up as far as the schedule is concerned. I still have it sitting up here. So if y'all want to talk about the schedule, we can talk about the schedule. But I appreciate y'all coming in. Let's get right to the chat in here. Let me get here to the top. Oh, we start off with John Higgins in the house. What's up, brother John? John says, Uncle Steve, what's happening with you on this Friday? I know you have seen Big Low Country basketball play with this young guy. He said, can't stay on with you today, but I did chime in quick. Take care. You too, my brother. Thanks a whole bunch. Rusty Moore is in the house. What is going on, Russ? Russ says Kirk is definitely not happy. He probably would have liked Nduze, but we paid you $100 million over 2 years, and you're going to cost us a future pick for running your mouth. So suck it up, Kirk Cole. You'll be okay. Kind of going in a little bit in that direction. So good job, Russ, talking about that. Anthony White is in the house. What's up, Ant? He said, no, Kirk Cousins is a professional. Yes, he's in his feelings a bit, but so what? He has 100 million reasons to be the good soldier for 2 seasons. Do your job, and everything else will work out. Shout out to a brother Gatsboy in the house. What's going on, sir? Appreciate you. Greg from Greg Custom Kicks is in the house. Y'all make sure y'all check out them shoes, man. Greg getting into creating season. So y'all make sure y'all get with him. What's up, my brother? False Start is in the house. What's going on, False Start? Good to see you here. David Starks, my brother Dave, in the house. He said, what's up, Steve? I could care less about Kirk Cousins' feelings. He's been paid $100 million coming off an Achilles injury. Do your job, win games, and be an example for Penix Jr. Quite honestly, right there. Dexter, what's going on, sir? Say, what's up, Season can't get here fast enough. I'm ready to put the smackdown on there. Candy, in my rock voice. Yes. Indeed, my friend. ATL Georgia Faithful in the house. Another content creator. What's going on, brother? Y'all make sure y'all hit him up. Demetrius is also here. What's up, Demetrius? How you doing, sir? Good to see you. He said when Kirk cashed that check, he said, you like that? You like that? So a lot of people, it's kind of interesting, man. David says, if his feelings were hurt, here's an idea. Play well enough to keep the kid on the bench. It's a fair point. Fair point. That one Falcon fan is here. What's going on? What's cooking up? We not 1, not 2, but 4 primetime games this year. Crazy. And in my opinion, the Vikings game should have been a primetime over Las Vegas. Also, Kirk doesn't seem to mind Penix and took it like a pro. Now, there's a perspective there that you can absolutely ride with that scenario. He did not say, and I made it clear earlier, he did not say anything demeaning. He didn't say anything that was out of pocket. He said he's going to be a good steward. He is going to, no words of mentoring. I think people want to always hear, well, you signed up to mentor. He didn't. He signed up to be a professional. And I'm pretty sure once they get in that quarterback room, if the one thing Kirk Cousins knows about, he knows about competition. The tables were turned. I mean, when he had started explaining a lot of his career path, going to Michigan State and all, and it was interesting to hear about some of the competitions he's had. I did not realize Nick Foles had originally been on that team as well at Michigan State. I didn't know that. And of course, the RG3 at the very beginning, when RG3 was the number 1 overall pick and Kirk Cousins was drafted in the 4th round in Washington. So he is kind of used to that type of battle. So what's the difference here? You're picking up the biggest check you've ever gotten in your career and, throw in a little adversity. You'll be okay. I don't have sympathy for him in this situation, But hey, it's the NFL. You're gonna have to fight for what you have. But there was no bad blood. I'm just reading body language. And then when you tell the story the way he said, "Oh, I'm driving home and they told me like 30 seconds before or a minute before the pick." I don't know. You probably need to work those feelings out between Terry and Raheem, but there's another school of thought that says, I'm sure that check is deposited already. So deal with it. Kelvin is in the house. What's up, Kelvin? Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Dexter says, I don't care about his feelings. I wish we could have got Penix early on in offseason if we knew he was going to be there. Then use that money on some top defensive players like we was if we didn't sign him. Now, there's also a school of thought, Dexter. And I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend now that I didn't think that the prospect of Justin Fields or Russell Wilson could have been. Matter of fact, I threw out Jacoby Brissett's name earlier before the free agency started. So I'm not going to sit here and try to act like, oh yeah, Kirk Cousins was the right answer. As far as skill level, it was definitely the right answer. As far as risk, you're taking a risk with a 36-year-old coming off of a major injury. It's not like he's coming off a shoulder sprain or a dislocated finger or anything like that. This is, you need your feet. No matter what you do in football, you need your feet. So if he's coming off a major Achilles at an age where the injuries may not heal as fast. Now, being an athlete, you should have the optimum body anyway, so maybe that'll help. But there's legitimate concern about that. So I understand. Antonio James is here. What's going on, sir? He said, what's up, Unc? Kurt's play dictate how all this goes down. He's not going to hold us hostage with slightly above average play like he did Washington and Minnesota. And here's the bigger thing when you start saying that, Antonio. There's a lot to live up to that particular contract. You would almost say that at the beginning of that first contract with the Vikings, when he was the first person to get all guaranteed money, 3 years, $80-something million, when he did that about 4 or 5 years ago. There's something to be said about, yeah, you might be a little in your feelings, but you got to come to play, man. You've got to come to play. You can't play this game of, oh man, y'all didn't tell me that, so I'm going to pout on the sidelines. That wouldn't be beneficial to him or his legacy. You don't want to be the guy that took the $100 million and pouted on the sidelines. You don't. This is different than Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota got mad and went home. Falcons could care less. They weren't paying him nothing. So they're like, yeah, go home, Marcus. You good. We got this. At least we thought we did. Travis, what's going on, Travis? Hey, if Kirk is that dude, he shouldn't give a damn about Penix being drafted. I don't think Tom Brady was worried when Jimmy G was drafted. Show us on the field. It's a really good point. A lot of people, listen, Jimmy Garoppolo was drafted. There were a lot of people that raised a lot of eyebrows to that. So that's a fair, very fair question. Got a super chat in here. Our brother Greg is here.
I love that.
Classic for the. I absolutely hit the wrong button. Let's try that again.
Super chat with Uncle. Super chat with Uncle. super chat with Uncle.
Greg's Custom Kicks in the
Super
house.
chat with
Appreciate you, brother.
Uncle.
A difference between quarterback controversy and competition. And that's fair. It is competition. And don't think, folks, this could be a situation that works out beautifully for the Falcons. Because now Kirk Cousins, instead of posing for shots and looking, on the sideline like, hey, I'm the man. You can't touch me. You can tell everybody I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. But no, you got to look behind your shoulder and you see that left-handed spiral coming down and see those passes hitting those second-string wide receivers down the field. You got to come in there with your A game. Because while as far as the money is concerned, it's a totally different situation money-wise. But as far as competition-wise, it's no different than Russell Wilson and Matt Flynn. I'm not here to tell you Michael Penix is going to start over Kirk Cousins. I've heard that floated out. The only reason that would happen is because of injury. But if something should happen to Kirk and Michael Penix gets on the field and the Falcons run off 4-5 straight, then you can have some problems. We would have the highest paid backup quarterback on the squad, which is what Matt Flynn ended up being in Seattle. Kelvin says nobody. 36 coming off an injury. Plus, he wanted money. Did Blank's check clear? They did. Kelvin said Minnesota told him they were going to draft a quarterback. And look, I don't understand why, you would think that would be, I don't know, why you would think that would, drafting a quarterback would be such a negative thing. But it's really not. It's you're trying to look out for your future. I don't blame the Falcons at all. That's really weird. Barbara Ridley is here. How you doing, Barbara? Hello, everyone. Kirk needs to just win, and he won't have to worry about Penix. True. I earned $100 million by getting us a Lombardi trophy in the Ain't Stadium this year. Let me tell you something. If Kirk Cousins messes around and wins a Super Bowl for the Falcons, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Hold on 1 second, y'all. I'll take care of a little business right quick. There we go. There we go. All right. Barbara says, hopefully this motivates Kirk like it did Rodgers. Rodgers got 2 MVPs after they signed Love. That's a really good point. That's an excellent point. Bobby, what's going on, man? How you doing today? Thank you for joining us in Uncle Steve's Lounge. I appreciate you. Yeah, brother from another mother, afternoon to you and my live stream brothers and sisters. Let's talk about it. 330 is in the house. Y'all better look out. 330 is here to start up some stuff. What's going on, my friend? He said, what's up, Unc? Business is business, and I know we are human, but I wouldn't worry about any other quarterback in the league. Any other quarterback. The league allows 3 per team. And that's another question, y'all. This is really weird. It's a legitimate thought to ask, do we hang on to Heineke? Or do we get, I don't know, another middling? We pay him a lot of money. Pay like $4 million. Take that money and along with Richie Grant's money and go get Justin Simmons. Let's do some of that action. As far as I'm concerned, that sounds like a good idea to me. Greg says, true Falcon fans know we ain't had no quarterback competition here in the ATL. Hell yeah, it's a good possibility Kirk will ball harder knowing that a younger guy is on his heels. I absolutely agree with that. In my opinion, I think that's the Cousins will get. I think that's it too. I mean, listen, this is turning out to be a perfect situation for Kirk Cousins to run through that Atlanta Falcons hall and say, "You like that, Terry? You like that?" It could be. It could be. ATL Dog is here. What's going on, man? How you doing? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate y'all coming in. Again, as y'all coming into the lounge, y'all show your uncle some love and hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Make sure y'all share this out too, man. I'd love to be able to talk to more and more of you all on the streams. Next stream is going to be Sunday at 6 p.m. We'll have the Sunday chill where we let it all hang out. We talk a little bit about football, sports, everything, little pop culture. I know y'all seen that nasty film with Mr. Diddy. Ooh, Sean Combs is in some trouble. And I know that was a long time ago, but that does not look good. We'll talk about stuff like on Sunday. Bobby says, fellas, I said this earlier. If these Falcons could win 4 out of 5 of these games, I guarantee you we getting this NFC championship. Screenshot it. I feel you, brother. I feel you. I got you. I hope so. I hope so. Antonio says, I hope Penix comes in and push Kirk to the point that the coaches wonder, should we? Absolutely. I'm going to tell you something. I am going to be front and center at the first Atlanta Falcons preseason game because you already know Michael Penix is probably going to start that preseason game. I doubt if Kirk Cousins played one snap in preseason. I doubt it. He might wet his beak game 3 for a series just to say, I'm here. But I'll be surprised if he plays one snap in preseason. Michael Penix is going to be on display during the preseason. And that's, I'm telling you, Falcon fans, if Kirk Cousins thinks now is pressure, wait till Penix gets on the field and he happens to blossom. Even against second stringers, that's going to be a lot of pressure. What's going on? News and sports, HBCU. What's going on? Say, what's up, I heard you are qualified to give an expert opinion of Raheem Morris and his ability to call X's and O's on the same level as Andy Reid. On paper, the Atlanta Falcons scare a lot of teams. Listen, I don't want to act like I am an expert at all, but I appreciate the thought on Raheem Morris. But the one thing I do see with Raheem that I didn't see with Dan Quinn, and I do see with definitely didn't see with Arthur Smith, is there's a different energy level coming from your top guy. Does that mean that disqualifies him to be okay, but when it's time, I need to be this head coach? No. I think what it does, it has these guys feeling a lot loose. You heard Jesse Bates talk about it in his interview. I heard Kyle Pitts mention it in his interview. I heard Drake London say it in his interview. The energy that Coach Raheem Morris is going to bring to this team is going to be awesome. This is not his first rodeo in the ATL. He knows what Atlanta fans want. Y'all remember, he was here dying on the field in Houston. He was here listening to the fans in those last days of the Dome. He was here. So he knows what the Atlanta fans want. I believe this is going to be a special year. And we'll go to the schedule in a little bit for those of you who weren't able to join us the other day for the schedule release. And I'm going to go down this list and talk about some of the facts about what this schedule really is. This schedule is not as daunting as it looks. Barbara Ridley said, I think it's good Kirk took his receivers to Miami. Even if something happens to Kirk, they may throw Heineke in there before Penix. That's a very good thought. But I really do think, Barbara, with Penix being picked now, I don't think there's any way that you go into the season with Heineke being the number 2. There's no way. Unless they come up with some I do not see Michael Penix being inactive. I know they can do the 3 quarterback thing, as one of you guys alluded to earlier. I don't see Penix being the number 3 guy. Not anymore. Heineke might be the emergency person. Antonio says, I hope Penix comes in and push Kirk to the point. Oh, no, we did that. I'm sorry. Atlanta Dog says, I hope Penix push Kirk to win a Super Bowl. That makes 2 of us. Kelvin says, do you think the curse of primetime Kirk is a real thing? Got 4 primetime games. It's a good thought, and I saw the record and everything like that. I don't think so. I think it's good to have a little bit of angst on your team. If you all remember going into the 2016 season, a lot of people were on edge. The Matt and Kyle Shanahan type of relationship. Remember Roddy White? A lot of people were really upset. Roddy White didn't get to be on that 2016 team. We forgot about it, of course, by the time we made the playoff run. But going into that season, there were folks, remember, 92.9 the game, folks up there were absolutely acting like we couldn't win without Roddy White. Not only did we win, we flourished more. So it's good to have a little tension, especially in the quarterback room. If anybody can think about it right now while you're on your keyboard, tell me a more talented on paper, because I think the thought process is Penix is a talented backup. Give me a more talented first and second string in the NFL right now that you would say. I'm not telling you both of them have to be all pros, but give me a scenario where you see a really talented first and second string. Now, keep in mind, we're projecting that the first 6 quarterbacks are all going to be talented. But in a lot of those situations, the backup quarterbacks are truly garbage. Hence, the folks coming in. This is the only situation that we drafted talent and the quarterback is actually expected to be better. Hence the 4 primetime games. But tell me of a duo on an NFL team right now that's better. I mean, the immediate jump would you think about the better teams, Kansas City. I know the guy, I'm trying to think of him right now, but I'm not taking that one. Buffalo, Cincinnati. I know the guy from Cincinnati balled out a little bit, but he came back to earth real quick. I mean, it's that, yeah. ATL Faithful says, I would keep Tyler just for this year. Taylor, just for this year. He already restructured, and I prefer a vet like him to come in this year if something happened. Maybe. Barbara says, we still need to get Justin Simmons and Jerry Jacobs. I would not mind investing in Justin Simmons. Now, I know the Jerry Jacobs thing from recent from Detroit has been going around the rumor mill, and I wouldn't mind doing that either. But Justin Simmons, that would be a priority to me. Not saying that the other cornerback position isn't better, but boy, if you give me Justin Simmons at that second safety position, it would make me feel a lot more comfortable with my other cornerback. It would be a little bit of protection for whoever's on that other side of AJ. ATL Dog says Kirk beat the Niners last year in prime time without Justin Jefferson. This is true. That's right. Kind of beat him down, if I'm not mistaken, that game, right? Wasn't that the big Hawkinson game? Raymond Collins is here. What's up, Raymond? How you doing, brother? He says, controversy equals human nature. Man, what better way to see what you got inside, too? A lot of times we talk about that dog, that alpha, and that's all great. But conflict sometimes, especially in sports, conflict sometimes makes the best of the situation, but probably for both of them. You know, Penix and Cousins are going to be working together. And you don't think in Michael Penix's mind, he's sitting back saying, now they wouldn't have drafted me if they didn't think this guy was going to be here for his whole 4 years, would they? They actually think I'm pretty good. And then your Kirk Cousins on the other side saying, man, this little kid right here, I was watching those games. This kid ain't no joke. Now, if they would have drafted Spencer Rattler, I'd still be on the Atlanta 285 tour. But they brought in Michael Penix. Oh, I got to step my game up. I got to start this season 2-1. I got to make that little division run through the season. I got to take at least 4 out of 5. And if I do that in the first 5 games, the first 8 games, I'm 5-3 or 6-2. That's going to make the fans and the media kind of slow down the Michael Penix takeover train. It's going to work. And you know who the beneficiaries will be? Atlanta Falcon fans. We're going to benefit from that. Dexter says, I understand why we signed him because he was the best quarterback on the market, but he wasn't my first nor second quarterback I wanted this season. I'm not a fan of Kirk, but I'll root for him while he is a bird. And listen, Kirk Cousins nor Michael Penix were, okay, let me clarify. Because prior to Kirk Cousins being signed, I did suggest Michael Penix could be the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, in the scenario I had for him being a quarterback, I was assuming Russell Wilson, Jacoby Brissett, somebody like that, Gardner Minshew, would be here. And they would just put the seat warmers on until Michael Penix was ready. Now, once we signed Kirk Cousins to an amount that I'm still kind of trying to process, when we signed Kurt, I had to kind of really look deep inside, kind of like Dexter, and say, while it's not my first choice, I understand why the Falcons invested in his talent. Even with the injury, even with the age, I get it. Because you really didn't have a lot of choices out there. So at neither time, the beginning of free agency, nor at the draft. Now, once we signed Kirk Cousins, there was no, Michael Penix was not on my first round radar. Now, if they were foolish enough to let him get to the second round, I would be the first one to hit that buzzer. But I do get it now. I understand it now. It was hard to at first, but I get it now. John Brooks is here. What's up, John? How you doing, sir? He said, what's up? I saw a video on IG of Penix dropping a dime to Drake London, and in the same video, Penix only has one drop ball. Penix has been balling in OTAs. Here's my thing about OTAs, folks, and here's my other thing, too, about camp. All of that is great in T-shirts and shorts. All of it is great. Beautiful. Love it. For pictures, who is that? The Georgia kid making a great catch, one-handed. All those pictures are great. All I have to do is remind y'all. I remember about 3 summers ago, they had a picture of Mike Davis, and everybody was going, look at those thighs. Look at those. Y'all remember. Don't act like you don't now. Don't act like you don't now. Look at those thighs. Mike Davis is going to be the next Earl Campbell. and everybody was going wild over that. So again, I don't want to stifle enthusiasm. I want the Falcon fans to be happy about this season. We should be. But at the same time, slow down on the OTAs, slow down on the T-shirt catches. We'll be fine. HBCU says play calling. Yes, timing and precision. The success of the slants depend on the timing and precision of the throws. The quarterback should make quick decisions to avoid giving the defense time to react and spacing. And listen, I think Kirk Cousins is going to eat folks alive in spaces that our former quarterbacks with an S couldn't do. I think that's probably going to be the reason we prosper. Zach Robinson is look, he's not on the hot seat per se, but he's got some microscopes on. Because the one thing, what do we all dog our buddy up in Pittsburgh about? Play calling. Being able to get guys open. So you're absolutely right. Zach, we need you, brother. Dexter says, I don't think Heineke will even be on the roster when the season starts. We already done gave him a roster bonus for $1 million to stay, but now we got our guy. I think he gets cut after preseason. Now, the only thing about that particular thing, now, Dexter, I will be 100% down with you. That's a big salary cap hit. Now, if you could find somebody to trade Heineke, then I'll work that out. That may be, and that could have been why they restructured that contract too. The Falcons may be like I said, there's no way Michael Penix is going to this season as the third string quarterback. So they gave him his little bonus early. If I'm not mistaken, I think his salary is somewhere between $4.25 and $4.5 million. If they can trade him, then that would help as far as the cap is concerned. You just can't cut him and take that $4 million hit for a potential third string quarterback. They probably drop that number down so it would be easier for teams, coming out of camp. Look, dog, quarterbacks are going to get hurt. Backups are going to get hurt. And the Falcons might be like, okay, well, we got him at a nice salary to where we can go ahead and move him on. David says, moron pundits throwing a pity party for Kirk Cousins. Leave out of the way. We screwed up the succession plan for Ryan. And somebody tell me who was the most, and I'm asking y'all a lot of questions because I need y'all to help me. And put in their succession plan who it is. Because I'm going to tell y'all, by the time I get to y'all, because I love streams like this because I'll get behind on the comments and I'll forget where I am. Who was the best backup under Matt Ryan? Schaub, maybe. But in either case, Matt Ryan's not on the field, we're not winning. I think this has the potential, not telling you Michael Penix is going to be fire off the rip in a regular season game, but the potential and his talent absolutely makes me smile. Kenneth Kellett, I'm pretty sure he's answering the question about the best quarterback room. He says the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have the best quarterback room. Because y'all know Arizona does have Kyler Murray and our buddy,
I love Desmond.
on their team. Kenneth, my buddy. You are amazing. But it's good to see you, my friend. You're good. It's good to see you here. HBCU says Roddy White should be Hall of Fame. Roddy White had 655 catches for 8,564 yards. He scored 53 touchdowns in 121 games with Matt Ryan in his career. And all that being said, my friend, I apologize. I love me some Roddy White. He's not a Hall of Fame wide receiver. He is in the Atlanta Ring of Honor, which is nothing to sneeze at. But I'm sorry. Destin says, closest thing to us is Baltimore with quarterback and maybe Patriots, which I'm not a fan of Drake May. Maybe Cleveland with Crab Legs and Watson. But I do like our duo better than anyone. I am intrigued by the Baltimore situation with Huntley and Lamar Jackson. That actually is not horrible. Patriots, I'm gonna Deshaun Watson. I'm gonna tell you what, though. Don't underestimate when Crab Legs is a competent backup quarterback when he's not running the victory formation. But that's actually not a bad duo there. I put that Deshaun Watson and Jameis in there. I'll say that. A1 Forever is in the house. What's going on, my friend? He just came off the stream with Smooth Smitty and my brother Larry from the Dixon Way. Both of those cats were talking Atlanta schedule, talking Atlanta Falcons as usual. Y'all make sure y'all check out the A1 Forever page on YouTube. He has a plethora of other social sites. He's a little bit more social than I am in that particular area, but y'all make sure y'all check him out. Kenneth said, LMA, injury prone prospect equals franchise quarterback. One is not going to be the other ever. And I appreciate that positivity, my friend. Thank you so much for that. One of my buddies in the house, my buddy Tidy from Atlanta Bird Gang is here. Y'all, please check him out. Not only on Facebook, in the Facebook page of the Atlanta Bird Gang, but also on his YouTube channel. My partner in arms and I did the draft this year, and we were very much on Penix, as he is going to tell you. Say, Steve, you were one of the very first people that I heard suggesting that we draft Penix. I remember you saying, yeah, I hear what y'all saying about the injuries, but I like this kid. You are 100% on, because look, I overlooked a lot of that stuff because injuries can happen to anybody. And I understand the concern, but I like the kid's talent. Y'all got it. Dude, I have been on Penix since last year, and not even necessarily for the Falcons. I was thinking even last year, I thought he might come out because he had already been in Indiana. It's not like he couldn't come out, but Michael Penix been balling for the last couple of years. Had Indiana being pretty good before he got hurt. He is no joke. And he's right. I was absolutely saying that. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you bringing that up. Dex Diggs is here. What's up, Dex? He said, what's up, Unc? I look at this two ways, and both are good. Kirk Cousins is a vet, and he's been there and done that. It would be advantageous for Michael Penix to hush his mouth and learn how to be an NFL quarterback. Now, I'm also not suggesting, I don't think Michael Penix has been overly boisterous about trying to be the quarterback. He says he's a competitor, and his natural instinct is to compete. I like that part. Now, by no means has he sat here and said, I'm here to get Kirk's job. That would be the wrong thing to say. But you're absolutely right about Kirk being a veteran, been there, done that. It's probably not a lot he hasn't seen. I heard him talking about the playbook with Zach Robinson, saying just getting the verbiage down. It's not a matter of knowing what certain plays are. It's a matter of getting the verbiage down for the plays so they can all, be on the same page. But yeah, I hear you. And Michael Penix will do a lot of Microsoft Surface holding this year. And if in a perfect world, he'll do it all year. And Kirk Cousins will lead us to our first NFC South title since 2016 in a perfect world. And all the noise will calm down. David says reports were the Broncos and the Raiders were trying to get into the top 10 to draft Penix Jr. So it's good we got him there when we did. They were trying to get the player, y'all. They were trying to get him. Kelvin says, hope new coaching staff teach London to go down sometimes and stop fighting for extra yards every time. Here's Kelvin. I don't mind you fighting for the yards, but you just got to learn how to protect the ball. He did a horrible job of that a couple of years ago. Much better last year, even though I think there was one that I think they popped out last year. I don't mind him trying to get the extra yard. I don't ever want to not teach them that. Just got to teach them how to hold on. I was looking the other day. I don't know if you all have NFL Network. NFL Network ranked the top 10 games of the 2023 season. And guess what game was number 7? And it's probably not the game you thought. The 7th ranked game was Minnesota at Atlanta. And the only reason I bring that up as far as ball control is the Atlanta Falcons were up 2 scores. We got the ball. Bijan took a little pitch and popped it outside and was on his way. And dude came and popped that ball underneath. And we saw that from Bijan a couple of times this year. I guarantee you this year, y'all, Bijan gonna be better with that ball. And that's what it was with Drake too. Just be a little better. That's all. Antonio says, I can see them waiting to see how far along Penix is before they make a decision on Heineke. That could be true. That could also be true as well. Dexter says, the recession plan after Mike kind of fell in our favor. No good quarterback since Ryan left have come out of the draft. Lawrence is the best quarterback that came out in Jacksonville, prolonging his contract. One caution. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's really hasn't been a lot in between that. So, yeah. Kenneth says, let's remember, Uncle Steve, Arizona has 2 competent NFL quarterbacks. Falcon has 1 and an unproven, overdrafted, overhyped, injury-prone prospect. Hello. Oh, that's and I hit the wrong button on that. I meant to hit this one because I'm gonna let you stay at Disney World with that one, Kenneth. You the man, brother. I'm gonna tell you though, Kenneth rode hard for my man though. I tell you,
I love that.
he rode hard for him, and I don't know. I'm almost thinking Kenneth might have an Arizona jersey somewhere in his background. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I know you can't say that stuff with a straight face, man. I know you're not saying that. Oh boy, ATL Doc said, "Who's the second confident quarterback?" I think Kenneth's just having some fun. one, or Kenneth has hit the weed a little too early. One of the two. Bobby says, I think whoever is the right tackle is going to be in 2026. They better be calibrated as instant, all because that right side will be critical in 2 years. That's actually a good hashtag Penix for governor. Hey, I hear you. And you know, that is something that they're going to have to think about. I was even spitballing the thought that maybe Bergeron could remember Bergeron was a tackle when he got drafted. And they moved him into the guard, which is going to work out. But maybe they'll push him over to the side. So we'll see. Bobby says, right tackle for top draft in 2025. Let's run out. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. HBGC, you said these are Hall of Fame numbers. Numbers don't lie. Right away. And listen, I'm not arguing that those aren't good numbers, man. But I go back to the same argument that people have with Matt Ryan, and I'm going to get into that since we're talking about it, and I understand we're talking about Kirk, but I won't put this to that because it's a big family argument with my son that I'm having, and Roddy White kind of goes into that conversation. If this is more than the numbers are going to be hard because numbers in the 80s and 90s are going to be different than numbers in the 2000s. And even today, remember, we add the extra game. So records are going to fall. Somebody's going to break the all-time passing record. Somebody's going to break the all-time rushing record soon because you just simply have more games. Here is my thought, y'all. And y'all tell me if you disagree with this. This is my main criteria for Hall of Fame. If you are in the top 3 of your position for at least 3 to 5 years. Yeah, well, let me make this clear. If you aren't in the top 3 of your position for more than a 3 to 5 year stance, if you're not, then you can't be included in the Hall of Fame. As great as Roddy White was for us, Roddy never had a run like that in the NFL. So it's extremely hard for me to put him in that category. That doesn't mean Roddy White wasn't good. It just means for the Hall of Fame, I just think the level we can't make excuses for that. With that criteria, as much as we were giving flowers and love and handkerchiefs and everything like that for Matt Ryan a couple of weeks ago, I don't think Matt Ryan is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think Matt Ryan was the most important player in Falcons history. But Matt Ryan was a good to very good quarterback with an apex year in 2016. He was never elite. I love Matt Ryan for this team because he took my favorite team and he was absolutely the leader on 6 playoff runs and a couple of magical ones. But I can't sit here and tell you that my sports acumen is going to let me say Matt Ryan in an era of Brady, Manning, yes, the second Manning who won 2 chips, Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, yes, that Russell Wilson who is weaning now but took his team to 2 Super Bowls. I can't. Drew Brees. I cannot spin my head to put Matt Ryan as a Hall of Fame quarterback. And the same thing for Roddy White. Roddy White even worse. Chris says, "What's up, Unc? Do you think this will be like the Falcons of the 2010s where we score a ton but can't stop a nosebleed? Or are we better than most people think on D?" Chris, I think what's going to happen on D, we're going to have to trust the coaching on this team. This is shaping out to be, if y'all remember, the 2016 team which is the team we're going to point to the most because that's the most recent, truly successful team. That was a young defense. They were opportunistic and they all got to the ball. They weren't a great defense in 2016. All we need them to do is make some plays. To your point, score a ton. That a ton would be great. Give me 24-27. We didn't have a lot of good scoring games last year. Most of the games we scored, we won. So, Demetri says, Arizona having 2 competent quarterbacks is the laugh of the day. I agree with you, brother. I agree. HBCU says, we need receivers like these guys. Julio Jones, true. Followed by Roddy White and Terrence Mathis. Absolutely. I would love to have wide receivers like that. I'm not still 100% on the wide receiver room we have now. It was better than last year, in the last 2 years. Can Mooney be that guy? Can Rondale White? How about Rondale White? You got me talking about Roddy White. Rondale Moore give us what we need? Can Chris Washington be a surprise in the 6th round? I mean, it's Demetrius says in my Stephen A. voice, stay off the weed. Y'all crazy, right? Travis says Brandon Trice signed his rookie deal today. Good job. So that leaves just Mike, right? Dexter says, I love Roddy White, one of my favorite Falcons of all time, but he's not going to the Hall of Fame. If he had Matt his first couple of years instead of Vic, then maybe. Sorry, he won't make it. And I love Roddy. And that's the thing. You're not less of a Falcon fan if you tell the truth about the situation. It's not. It's not about not liking Roddy White and not appreciating what Roddy White was. Roddy White was a very respected wide receiver in the league for about a 3 to 4 year span. And in Atlanta, really until Julio came along, when you got somebody that was a little bit more talented. No disrespect to him. ATL, I'm sorry, Atlanta Bird Game says, Roddy White is my favorite Falcon player of all time, but unfortunately, he isn't a Hall of Famer. Now, listen to this. He says, Roddy is my favorite Falcon of all time, but he's unfortunately isn't a Hall of Famer. Maybe if he didn't have such a slow start and underwhelming finish. He is very good. I like that. I like that. That's actually really good. And I love the fact that he can separate your feelings personally for the team, for your favorite player, and compartmentalize that he's not a Hall of Famer. It's the same thing with Matt. HBCU says, thanks, Unc. I see your point. The Falcons do not have all those all-time players in a position. And dude, you good, man. You good as gold. That's fine. It's just good debate. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to know from y'all, and I know we came way back. Tell me a compelling argument for Matt Ryan to be a Hall of Famer. I want to start. I want to open that box. Y'all in the chat, give me a compelling argument that Matt Ryan is a Hall of Fame quarterback. And I want to debate that, and not in a negative way, and not in a telling y'all full of it way. That's I don't do business like that. But I'm here to tell you, I love me some Matt. I have more Matt Ryan shirt jerseys, plaques on here. I'm gonna go. It's stapled on my wall. Matt Ryan. It's not like I don't love it. I'm not gonna put anybody on my wall in my home. Now I messed up my camera. I'm sorry. Now y'all got to deal with it. See, Tidy, you're going to have to come in here and fix this camera for me. Now, I love me some Matt Ryan, but somebody give me a compelling argument that Matt Ryan is a Hall of Fame quarterback. You can't. Matt is that Hall of very good. That's Matt. And please don't tell me about the numbers. That's longevity. That's longevity. My son gives me the argument all the time. LeBron James is the best. He got 40,000 points. How does that make him the best? It makes him the longevity champ. He's playing in an era where things are a little bit softer. But it doesn't. Somebody give me a compelling argument why Matt Ryan is a Hall of Famer. I'm going right here too. Dexter says, now, Unc, I believe Ryan is a Hall of Famer, but I think the team he played for don't get enough love. Put Matt's numbers against anybody. Not only did he have a Pittsburgh defense 13 years in his career. Now, I understand the defensive thing is going to come up with a lot of folks, and I understand. Let's see if I can get that a little bit better there. How about that? There we go. There we go. How about that? There's no argument that the defenses weren't great for Matt Ryan. There's no argument that Matt Ryan is a huge reason that we won more games during the 2010s than most teams. We were in the top 6 or 7 in the 2010s, believe it or not, even with that horrible end. So there is a pathway for Matt. But Dexter, I can't, in my right mind, when I think about Matt Ryan and I think about the era that Matt Ryan played, in my opinion, I just feel like you need to be one of the best at your position for an extended amount of time. While 2008 was great, Matt was not one of the top quarterbacks. Nor in 9, even though it had a winning record, nor in 10, even though we were 13-3, Matt Ryan had a okay year, but not a year. Now, 11, they were okay. 12 was the first year that Matt Ryan, I was like, oh, okay. Now he's putting up the stats, and now he's doing having those intangibles that were making him a really good quarterback. 13, a lot of people got hurt. Tony Gonzalez was acting weird. 14 had a lot of numbers, but, that was the 6-10 year. 15, 8-8. 16, Apex MVP, no doubt, you're the man. But I can't give you the inconsistency. I can't do that. I can't give him the inconsistency. Tom Brady was consistent for 3 to 5 years and longer. Peyton Manning, that and longer. Eli Manning has championship pedigree. They don't win those Super Bowls without Eli Manning. As horrible as his win-loss record is, but championships have to make a difference. So, yeah. Budal said came in late, but what's up, Rise up. Rise up to you too, my friend. Antonio says there's some big-name wide receivers that are not in the Hall of Fame. Andre Reed. Andre Reed is in the Hall of Fame. He made it. Andre Reed finally made it. And Isaac Bruce did not, but I think he was pretty close last time, right? Yeah, but I'm sure Andre Reed, yeah, he made the Hall of Fame in 14. What year was that? Hold on, I'm trying to double check. Yeah, 2014. Andre Reed was on a great team too. Dexter says Eli got rings, but Eli was not better than Matt. Eli overrated and will get in because it's 2 rings and his last name is Manning. Big Ben is the same. He was not better than Matt. He just got rings and had AD. I disagree with both of that, man. I really do. Super Bowls will trump. Matter of fact, I'm trying to think. Aside of Phil Simms, and Phil Simms was hurt one of those Super Bowls. And I don't know, before I even say that, Phil Simms is not a Hall of Famer, is he? Is Phil Simms a Hall of Famer? Let me check that before I go. Phil Simms. Phil Simms is not a Hall of Famer. No. Nope. Okay. And he probably shouldn't be. He got hurt the 1 year and Hostetler took them to the championship. But Eli, man, you're not going to find a lot of Super Bowl champs to win 2 Super Bowls and not in the Hall of Fame. You're not. And you have an argument that at times Matt might have been better than both of them, especially Big Ben. Yeah. Big Ben was a little bit more consistent with the making the playoffs too. Greg said, look what Calvin Johnson had to do to be a Hall of Fame candidate without a ring. He went above and beyond the wide receiver. Calvin Johnson was a whole different animal. There was no doubt he was the best at his position for more than 3 to 5 years. Atlanta Dog says, does anyone know if we signed Isaiah Wooden to a contract yet? I do not. ATLGA Faithful says, if Matt won that ring, we didn't, so no Hall of Fame. If Matt Ryan wins the ring in 2016, it's not even be a conversation. We wouldn't even be talking. Chris says 10 straight years of 4,000 yards and 62% completions, not bad. It's not bad at all. And it's probably one of the things that you can absolutely put up. But also tell me during that time how many quarterbacks were throwing for 4,000 yards. It's a lot of them. And Matt had the record, I think, right? Did he have the record? Or he tied the record? Something like that. It's not bad. It's a plus. It's definitely on the top of the resume. I think he's number 7 or 8 yards total. It's definitely beneficial to him, but I just think you need more than numbers. I think you just need more than just plain numbers. Gotta have a winning pedigree, man. ATL Faithful is Tuggle Hall of Fame. No. He's Falcons. Dexter says half the quarterbacks in the Hall, Matt's numbers are better. Please do some research. Only thing is they got on him his ring. But think about the statement you just made. The only thing they got on him is rings. The only thing that got on him is ring. That's almost like saying I finished in second place in 5 Olympic events. Only thing they got over me is the gold medal. That's come on, Dex. It's not about research. I know the research. I know the research. I know he has the 7th most yards in the league. I know he's top 10 in touchdowns. I get out, not top 10. Actually, he's not top 10. I think he's top 15 in touchdowns. I mean, and that gave you 6 playoff years. That 6 playoff years. By you guys' standard, Phillip Rivers should be Hall of Fame. Is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Fame? Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan's numbers are pretty identical. Let's bring it up here. bring it up here so we can look together. Phillip Rivers, and I'm gonna go to the bottom of this list. Let's share this right quick. I'm gonna take this off. I hear you, Dex. This is just pure debate, man. Phillip Rivers. Let's look at Phillip Rivers' numbers. Phillip Rivers was 134 and 106. Phillip Rivers threw for 63,440 yards. Phillip Rivers has 421 touchdowns and 209 interceptions. It's pretty good numbers. Let me pull this other thing down here for a little bit, which a lot of people act like it should make a difference, but it does. Phillip Rivers has 5 post office. Oh man, 5 postseason wins. 5 postseason wins. The most he got to the championship game in 2007. Now let's switch that to our guy. Let's bring on our guy, Matthew Ryan. And where's Matt? Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Matt Ryan. American football player. 63,000 yards for Rivers, y'all. 63,000. All right. Let's look at Matt. 124, 109. Matter of fact, I'm sorry. Did I pull that up? Let me share this right. I'm sorry. Let's go to Matt Ryan. There we go. Sorry about that, y'all. There we go. Matt Ryan, 124, 109, 62,000 yards, 381 touchdowns, 183 interceptions. I mean, numbers are great, but you got to give me more than numbers. If we just did the Hall of Fame straight by numbers, you're absolutely right. Matt Ryan gets in. Let's get his gold jacket. But I can't. I just can't, man. I can't. David says, as much as I love Matt, unprecedented winning with him at the helm, he's just not a Hall of Famer. Finished that game on February 5th, 2017, and he's in. But I just can't get there with his numbers. Different era. That's me. Dave Starr says, from Marino, when he was throwing for 4K. Yeah. HBCU says, what about a 4th ballot? Jim Kelly lost 4 Super Bowls and made the Hall of Fame. Here's the problem. Remember my first criteria? There was absolutely, positively zero doubt that Jim Kelly was one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL during that span. You're absolutely correct. He lost 4 Super Bowls and 3 of them in embarrassing fashion. But what you didn't have a problem with saying was Jim Kelly was one of the best quarterbacks during his era. There's zero argument with that. You don't make the Super Bowl 4 times in a row and being at the top of your game as a quarterback and not be considered Hall of Fame. You know? Antonio says, I love Matt and Roddy, but unfortunately everybody can't get in the Hall of Fame. Antonio. That's all I'm saying. It's not the Hall of Mediocre. And it's not the Hall of Very Good, like Tidy said. That's you know. Chris says, first ballot if he wins that Super Bowl. I agree, but definitely at some point in the Hall. Rookie of the Year, MVP, Super Bowl appearance, 8th all-time in every major stat. And Chris, it wouldn't shock me if he got in on a 2nd or 3rd, possibly. Maybe. It wouldn't shock me. And you got to remember, he's leaving during a year where he may be coming out one of the only quarterback because he's retiring the year after Tom Brady. So Tom Brady will have to shine for himself. That could work for him. But the person that I'm looking at the most, if they put Phillip Rivers in on the first ballot, then Matt's got nothing to worry about. Because Phillip Rivers has all those numbers and doesn't have any major postseason success. At least Matt Ryan, or an MVP. And Matt Ryan can at least say, I have an MVP. And, you know. David Starr says, Isaac Bruce said, I thought so. I thought he just got in recently, right? I thought so. HBU says, showing the numbers with Matt Ryan, John Elway, Troy Aikman, Joe Montana, and here's the biggest intangible in the other three names you just said. Elway, Aikman, Montana. 2 rings, 3 rings, 4 rings. Stats can be deceiving. Remember also, especially when you talk about Joe Montana, and 4,000 yards wasn't exactly the goal back then. Folks ran the ball back then. It was not the only team airing it out like that back then was Dan Fouts. That was really the only team majorly airing it out. Now, later on in Joe Montana's career, he started putting them numbers up a little bit near the tail end. But 3,000 yards was pretty much the mark. So there was no, when Dan Marino came along, Dan started throwing them out. Now, the one thing with Dan was considered one of the best quarterbacks for a 5+ year reign. As much as I love Matt, I can't honestly say that. I can't. David says, and who's Eli beat? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to get that. That's outstanding. Who Eli beat is going to go a long way in the Hall of Fame voters' mind. Folks, to beat the man, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Eli 2 times. Yes, they had a great defense, but Eli Manning was totally instrumental in winning those games. It wasn't like he was, this was not a Brad Johnson situation. This wasn't a, just trying to think of somebody else who was just there. It wasn't one of those situations. Eli was instrumental in those runs. That may be the biggest intangible for Eli getting in too, David. That's a good stat. Next, it says longest 4,000 yard season than anybody by a mile. We was the number 1 ranked offense for the first 10 years of Matt's career, and 32 ranked defense in the same span. Compare Big Ben and Eli's stats to the ice. Again, I'm not arguing the stats. The stat when they come up, when the Matt Ryan crew goes up to Canton and they put in their resume, the first thing they're going to put, the first sheet they're going to put is all these things that you're saying. The 4,000 yards, the 62,000 yards he threw for and everything. That touchdown number is kind of low for all those yards he threw compared against everybody else. That touchdown number is actually pretty low. But the other intangible is going to be on there. Matt Ryan, you know how many postseason games Matt Ryan won? Somebody tell me. It ain't 5. It ain't 6. Gotta go there. Chris says, what stat does Dan Marino have better than Matt Ryan? Is Dan Marino has more yards than Matt Ryan, right? Am I losing my mind on that? Dan Marino's got to be top for yards, right? Let's see. Passing yard, passing leaders. Let's see. Dan Marino is number 8. And yeah, I'll say this about Dan Marino. Dan Marino has 61,000 yards, and Matt has 62,000 yards. But Dan Marino has also won 147 games compared to Matt's 130. What is it? 132? 131? A lot more winning for Marino. That's a stat. He has a lot more touchdowns than Matt. Marino has 420 touchdowns. So, and if I'm not mistaken, he played 2 more years than Matt. Has a lot, almost 100 more touchdowns. It's a lot. Chris says River doesn't have an MVP, Rookie of the Year, never been to a Super Bowl, and let alone 2 NFC championships. Oh no, hear me good. I'm not comparing Phillip Rivers. I don't think Phillip Rivers deserves talk. But if you remember when Phillip Rivers retired a couple of years ago, folks were acting like, oh man, Phillip Rivers is a surefire Hall of Famer. I was like, really? Where's that coming from? Go back and look at any tape when Phillip Rivers left from the Colts. Oh, Phillip Rivers, he'll definitely be in. I was like, what? So that's why I say if he gets in, Matt is automatic. So don't get me wrong, Chris. I'm not telling you that. Dre, what's up, Dre? Dre says Matt Ryan carry stats, 62,792 yards, 381 touchdowns with less interceptions than Eli. Matt has more touchdowns and more yards and touchdowns. Sometimes ring don't matter. Check Dan Marino. Yeah, that's an easy one to pick out. Dre, sometimes you also have to kind of trust your eyes and a lot of stuff. Go ask anybody worth their Dre, and again, not ask anybody worth. You can't ask anybody from probably you just started watching football in the 2000s. Ask anybody who's been watching football since maybe the 80s. And even go back further than me. And ask them, who was a better quarterback, Dan Marino or Matt Ryan? After they start laughing at you, they'll say Dan Marino. And that's for sure. He said, come on, you got to give Ryan the nod for Hall of Fame. I don't have to. I would love if he got it. But if I'm a Hall of Fame voter, I can't do it. I can't. Not the first ballot. Dexter says Rivers is getting in the Hall of Fame. He was like 8 to 10 Pro Bowl player. He's definitely going to get in the Hall of Fame. If Marino and Matt getting in, it might take some time, but he's getting in the Hall of Fame. And see, that's the kind of stuff that right there with the Pro Bowlers, the Pro Bowl, which to me, Dexter, quite honestly, I probably weigh the all pros more, but you got a big point. You know what that Pro Bowl tells you? Phillip Rivers was a popular dude too. Matt Ryan unfairly, very unfairly, was stuck on a franchise that really didn't have a lot of history aside of a blip in 1998 in the Super Bowl. And that's not Matt Ryan's fault. Give Matt Ryan credit for putting us on the map. Because those first couple of years Matt was winning, you know what the NFL was saying? That's the Falcons. That's the Falcons. But I give Matt a lot of credit for changing that narrative about the franchise. That being said, still can't give him that first ballot. And Chris says, and Matt had awful defense. There is zero doubt that you're correct about that. Zero doubt. Zero doubt. Dexter says, if Matt don't get in, ain't no way in the mess Devin Hester should be in the Hall for just returning kicks. They trying to get rid of kick returns, and he made it. He was at the bottom for a receiver, for real, for real. Dexter, I actually am not a huge fan of special teams people getting in, and I mean that for kickers too. I think there should be a distinction because those guys didn't get in the Hall of Fame based on being on the field more than 50% of the time on offense or defense. So in other words, if the offense plays 40 to 50 plays a game, then whoever is a Hall of Famer on that team should have paid at least 30 to 40 of those plays. Same thing, offense or defense. I feel the same way about kickers. I love me some Morton Anderson, love me some Money Matt Bryant, love me some Young Wei Koo. But when you start talking about statistically and start talking about Hall of Fame and stuff, yeah. Devin Hester, CP, I love what you do on special teams, but I just don't think Hall of Fame should weigh and like that if that was the main contribution you gave. Tidy says Julio Jones is the only sure bet Falcon we can argue for. And honestly, you will not have to argue for Julio. He goes in the Hall of Fame. And Tidy, me and my son that's our biggest argument when you start talking about Hall of Fame people, because he's one of those, Matt will probably get in. And I'm like, was Matt really one of the top guys? But the Julio argument is not an argument. Julio is easily the best. Pretty much from 2011, was that the year the Green Bay game where he did all the yards? Or was that 13? No, not 2011, 2013. Wasn't that the year he put up 230 in Green Bay? So really from 12 to what? 17, 18, Julio was top 5, and then in probably 2 to 3 of those years, he was number 1. If you have a streak like that, it's not even an argument. Julio is first ballot. And you remember, Tidy, we had Terrence Mathis on. We were sharing the screen with Smitty from Smitty Sports Machine. Shout out to him. Y'all make sure y'all check out Smitty. I know y'all do anyway. And my brother Berto from 95 North Sports Talk. Check him out on Bleacher Report too. Y'all make sure y'all give them some love and support. Remember, we were all on that screen with Terrence Mathis, and I asked him about the chances of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones getting in. He was the opposite. He said Matt Ryan is surefire, and he said that he said that Julio Jones was going to have a hard time. And I pressed him on that question. I came back. I don't know if you remember that or not. But, yeah. See if you remember that. Denver, David says, don't forget those Oilers. Oh, yeah, the Oilers. Absolutely right. That's right. They were throwing the ball all around the place. Absolutely right. Good call. Tidy says, I suggest everyone read the article that D-Led put out on the day Matt officially announced his retirement. He asked Hall of Fame voters, will Ryan get in? And many of them said no. Uh-oh. Time will tell. And that's not a slight. People look at it as if you're disrespecting Matt Ryan's legacy. Brother, I lived Matt Ryan's legacy in those stands. I have been a season ticket holder prior to Matt, and Matt Ryan's whole career. I'm here to tell you, Matt is very, very good. Let me cut one of them berries. He's very good, but he's not Hall of Fame. He's not. Kenneth says, does Chandler go to the Hall of Fame? Kenneth is on fire with the jokes today. Dexter says, if stats matter or don't, but the defense Matt played with along should get him in. He had more comebacks than any quarterback in the league, which caused when played because his defense was so poor. Spagnuolo is going. Yeah, I agree with you on that. The defenses were horrible. The defenses were horrible. Cahill, I hope I'm doing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. He said you have quarterbacks that have 2 playoff wins and make it to the Hall of Fame. Look at the 20th century of quarterbacks. You have quarterbacks that have 3 or less playoff wins and still make it to the Hall of Fame. You have quarterbacks that have 3 or less playoff wins. If you're talking about in yesteryear, when they only played 14 games and they only needed 2 wins to get to the Super Bowl, yeah, maybe. And only until 1978 did only 5 teams made it in the conference. Matter of fact, I take that back. Only 4 teams made it back then. Was that right? No, 5 teams made it in 79, 78. That was the year that the Falcons first made the playoffs, the year that they extended that. It used to be when they had the 3 divisions, it would be the 3 division winners and 1 wild card. Then in 78, they went to 3 division winners, 2 wild cards. The 2 wild card teams would play. That winner would go to the number 1 seed. So I'm saying all this to say those quarterbacks in the 20th century didn't play as many games. 14 games over a 10-year season compared to 16 games over an era where we protect the quarterback and quarterbacks are playing into their late 30s and late and early 40s a lot more. A little bit of a difference. But I'll play along with the argument, though. ATL Dog says there are 5 quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame that don't have rings, and Ryan is better than all of them. Really? Name them for me. And I named them for me. Put that down in the chat for me. I'm gonna get to it. HBCU says, okay, I'm enjoying the debate. Well, in the next 5 years, the bar for the Falcons to have a 5,000-yard passer, quarterback, 2 receivers over 1,000. Also, we must have 2 running backs over 1,000 each. Defense 20 sacks. Man, if we do that, we better win the Super Bowl. If we have that, I hope we do. I really hope we do, and I mean that. Travis said Dan Marino did it in an era where passing for 3,000 yards was major. That point right there. That point. Good. Dan Marino was the standard for stuff like that back then. So, Titus says Marino, 3-time first team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler. If Matt had those exact accomplishments, he would dance into the Hall. No questions asked. Hard to compare stats in 2 vastly different eras. I mean, and I love it because I don't want anyone to think that I'm not respecting the fact that there are people that's gonna give me numbers and names prior to me really getting into football, and there are going to be a lot of you that may not remember not even so much about the yards. Folks, 4,000 yards in the 70s and 80s was just not there unless you were on the run and shoot teams in Houston with Warren Moon or the teams with Dan Fouts. Not as prevalent. Now everybody throws for I'm trying to just look, and I know we had last year. Last year might be a bad example, though, quite honestly, because we had a lot of injuries to quarterbacks. But even with the quarterbacks hurt, I'm trying to look at the stats for quarterbacks last year, passing quarterbacks, and let me pull this up, because y'all know I'm blind as a bat. Let me pull this up. Let's work together. Let me share the screen. So y'all, let me tie this thing off, and then let me share the screen. So this is last year, and really, what was a down year? Blow it up just a little bit more. There we go. Get that off there. Okay. So last year you had 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 quarterbacks that threw for over 4,000 yards. I'm here to tell y'all, years past, that's unheard of. It is. They just didn't do it. Dexter says, I'm trying to convince you, like you said, but in my heart, I really believe Ryan is getting in there. I think Ice was one of the best to spin the ball, but that's my opinion. Man, I'm Ryan, brother. I look again. I applaud that. I stand tall for your quarterback. Brother, you ain't gonna get too much argument with that. And if folks talked about Matt Ryan to me, you're gonna feel me defend him with everything I have. But at the end of the day, I also, there's a part of me that just says, oh, I just need to get that right, ATL Atlanta Dog says Matt fourth on the all-time fourth quarter comebacks list. I hear you. Big Ben, Peyton Manning, and Brady only higher than him. Travis says guys make the Pro Bowls as alternate. There's no alternate all-pro. That's actually good. Atlanta Dog says if Matt Ryan was a Patriot and Brady wasn't, he have 6 Super Bowls as well. But you know what? If I was 150 pounds less, I would be a model on one of the shows too. So, I'm going back to them Kirk Cousins, the hypotheticals. Dexter says they hated on Matt so bad. He had the same number in 2018 that he had in 2016, and he didn't even get voted to the Pro Bowl. They put Baker in over him. Like we lost like 5 games, putting up over 30 that year. Where Baker was actually with Cleveland, so Pro Bowl wouldn't have mattered back then, right? Unless they were. Did they still do NFC in 18? Right? Didn't they? Or did they just? Yeah, because Baker was Cleveland. Could be wrong. HBCU says now we see the next level for the Atlanta Falcons to build our team to be the hub for Hall of Famers at every position. That takes the right team ownership, the right GM, and the right team culture. Amen. 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 Tiny says, I remember that, Steve. I wasn't going to debate Terrence Mathis about that. Look, you remember I asked him. I actually asked him. And I wasn't I was trying to put him on the spot. I was like, dang, so you saying Julio not gonna make the Hall of Fame? I specifically remember that. So that was funny that day. Atlanta Dog says Trent Dilfer has a chip and isn't in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, right. Yeah. Antonio Jones says the thing with Dan Marino is that he was a game changer. Oh my goodness. He was first 5 years, it was nobody close to him statistically. Very good. Very good. Absolutely. He says, I love Matt, but come on, man. Over Dan Marino. Yeah, I think the average fan with a lot of football history will tell you otherwise, and that's not a hate on Matt. Folks, I stayed on here way longer than I thought I would, but I love the conversation, love what everyone is bringing to the table. Thank you for having another successful Friday brunch. I guess it's now dinner. Friday dinner here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Thank you so much for the comments. I appreciate everyone putting their 2 cent, 3 cent, 5 cents in here. Join me on Sunday. We'll talk again in the Sunday chill in Uncle Steve's Lounge. We'll not only talk Atlanta Falcons, we'll talk Atlanta sports. See if the Braves can do some stuff with these Padres. Talk about Scotty Schefter trying to challenge the police and going through the barricades today. We'll talk about whether P. Diddy has run out of time. Wow. And I chuckled not at the video, but about him kind of running out of time, brother. R. Kelly, move over. You might have a cellmate coming in pretty soon. Until then, I appreciate everyone. Appreciate the love and support. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out if you can. Until then, we'll talk to you on Sunday. Enjoyed it. Everyone have a great Friday. I know it's going to be raining this week, but try to enjoy yourself this weekend. For Uncle Steve's Lounge, I am your Uncle Steve. See ya. Peace.